Central planning. The plans which are formulated by the central government and financed by it for the implementation at the national level are known as central plans. Over the years, the Centre has launched 3 such plans and the governments have maintained continuity in their implementation. The 3 central plans are A. 5-year plans, B. 20-point program, and C. Member of Parliament Local Area Development Scheme. An introductory description of these plans is given as follows. A. The 5-point year plans dash. This is the most important among the central plans and is being continuously implemented one after the other since planning commenced in India. As planning has been a purely political exercise in India, the 5-year plans of the country have seen many unstable and critical moments till date. Several new developments related to planning also took place during the years. Given below is a concise summary of the plans as we see their different periods of implementation. First plan _________________. The period for this plan was 1951 to 56. As the economy was facing the problem of large-scale food grains import, 1951, and the pressure of price rise, the plan accorded the highest priority to agriculture including irrigation and power projects. About 44.6% of the plan outlay went in favor of the public sector undertakings, PSUs. The plan was launched with all the lofty ideas of socio-economic development, which had frustrating outcomes in the following years. Second plan _________________. The plan period was 1956 to 61. The strategy of growth laid emphasis on rapid industrialization with a focus on heavy industries and capital goods. 66 The plan was developed by Professor 5.20 times Indian economy, Mahalanobis. Due to the assumption of a closed economy, shortages of food and capital were felt during this plan. FHIRD plan _________________. The plan period was 1961 to 65. The plan specifically incorporated the development of agriculture 67 as one of the objectives of planning in India besides, for the first times, considering the aim of balanced, regional development. Enough misfortunes awaited this plan. 2 wars, one with China in 1961 to 62 and the other with Pakistan in 1965 to 66 along the Gujarat border and a severe drought-led famine in 1965 to 66 had to be faced. Due to heavy drain and diversion of funds, this plan utterly failed to meet its targets. FHRE annual plans times. The period of the 3 consecutive annual plans was 1966 to 69. Though the 4th plan was ready for its implementation in 1966, the weak financial situation as well as the low morale after the defeat by China, the government decided to go for an annual plan for 1966 to 67. Due to the same reasons the government went for another 2 such plans in the forthcoming years. The broader objectives of these annual plans were inside the design of the 4th plan which would have been implemented for the period 1966 to 71 had the financial conditions not worsened by then. Some economists as well as the opposition in the parliament called this period as a discontinuity in the planning process, as the plans were supposed to be for a period of 5 years. They named it a period of plan holiday, i.e., the planning was on a holiday. 68. 4th plan ____________. The plan period was 1969 to 74. The plan was based on the Gargill strategy with special focus to the ideas of growth with stability and progress towards self-reliance. Droughts and the Lundu-Pak War of 1971 to 72 led the economy to capital diversions creating financial crunch for the plan. The politicization of planning started from this plan which took serious, populist, design in the coming plans. Frequent double-digit inflations, unreined increase in the fiscal deficits, subsidy-induced higher non-plan expenditures and the first move in the direction of nationalization and greater control and regulation of the economy were some of the salient features of this plan, which continued unchanged till the early 1990s. The search for political stability at the center converted planning into a tool of real politics with greater and greater centralization, ensuing plan after plan. 5th plan. The plan, 1974 to 79, has its focus on poverty alleviation and self-reliance. 69 The popular rhetoric of poverty alleviation was sensationalized by the government to the extent of launching a fresh plan, i.e., the 20-point program, 1975, with a marginal importance being given to the objective of growth with stability, one of the major objectives of the 4th plan. The planning process got more politicized. The havocs of hyperinflation led the government to hand over a new function to the Reserve Bank of India to stabilize the inflation, the function which the RBI carries forward even today. A judicious price-wage policy was started to check the menace of inflation on the wage earners. This plan saw an increase in the socio-economic and regional disparities despite the many institutional, financial and other measures which were initiated by the government to attend them. The nationalization policy continued. There was an overall decay in the quality of governance. A nexus of the criminal politician bureaucrat seems to emerge for the first time to hijack the political system. 70. The plan period was badly disturbed by the draconian emergency and a change of the government at the center. The Janata Party came to power with a thumping victory in 1977. As the government of the time had then complete say in the central planning in India, how could the new government continue with the fifth plan of the last government, which had still more than 1 year to reach its completion? The dramatic events related to Indian planning may be seen objectively as given below. The Janata government did cut short the fifth plan 1 year ahead of its terminal year, i.e., by the fiscal 1977 to 78, in place of the decided 1978 to 79. 2. A fresh plan, the sixth plan for the period 1978 to 83 was launched by the new government, which called it the rolling plan. 71. 3. In 1980, there was again a change of government at the center with the return of the Congress, which abandoned the sixth plan of the Janata government in the year 1980 itself. 4. The new government launched a fresh new sixth plan for the period 1980 to 85. But by that time, 2 financial years of the Janata government's sixth plan had already been completed. These 2 years of the plan were adjusted by the Congress government in a highly interesting way. The first year, i.e., 1978 to 79 was added to the fifth plan, which was cut short by the Janata government to 4 years. And thus the fifth plan officially became of 5 years again, 1974 to 79. B. Now what to do with the second year, i.e., 1979 to 80? The Congress government announced this year to be a year of one annual plan. This annual plan, 1979 to 80, may be considered the lone independent remnant of the rolling plan of the Janata government. The sixth plan, 1978 to 83, which could not become an official plan of India, had emphasis on some of the highly new economic ideas and ideals, with almost a complete no to foreign investment, new thrust on price control, rejuvenation of the public distribution system, PDS, emphasis on small-scale and cottage industries, new lease of life to the Panchayati Raj institutions, i.e., the second phase of the revival of the PRS, agriculture and the subject of rural development getting the due, etc., being the major ones. It should be noted here that there is nothing like the rolling plan in the official documents of planning in India. Basically, the origin of the concept of the rolling plan goes back to the period when India went for the annual plans, 196 to 69, for the first time, and the critics noted it as a discontinuity in the planning process, calling it a period of the plan holiday. The basic trait of the rolling plan was its continuity. While the Congress commenced its sixth plan, 1980 to 85, the idea of the rolling plan was cancelled, as for the new government the element of rolling continuity was already in the Indian planning. India was following the approach of the perspective planning. A separate division of perspective planning was already functioning in the Yojana Bhavan since the mid-1970s. The two elements which make a plan a perspective plan are, firstly, the continuity, and secondly, evaluation-based planning. For the Congress government, logically, the planning in India was not only rolling, but more than that, evaluation-based, too. 5.22 times Indian economy. Sixth plan This plan, 1980 to 85, was launched with the slogan of Garibi Hatao, alleviate poverty. 72 Already, a program, the TPP, was tested and tried by the same government in the fifth plan, which tried to improve the standard of living of the poor masses with the direct approach, the idea of poverty alleviation, but such a slogan of Garibi Hatao was not given to the program. Some of the major issues addressed by the plan were emphasis on socio-economic infrastructure in rural areas, eliminating rural poverty and reducing regional disparities through the IRDP. 1979, Target Group 73 approach initiated. A number of national-level programs and schemes were launched during the plan, which tried to attend to the specific areas and the specific concerns of socio-economic development. This is Target Group Approach 74. National Rural Employment Program, NREP, 1980. 2. Restructured 20-point Program 1982. 3. Biogas Program 1982. 4. Development of Women and Children in Rural Areas, DWARA, 1983. Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program, RLEGP, 1983. Self-Employment to Educated, Unemployed Youth Program, SEUP, 1983. 7. Dairy Development Program, DDP, 1983. 8. Village and Small Industries Development Program, VSIP, 1983. 9. Tribal Development Agency, TDA, 1983. KISS Smiley Village and Small Industries Development Program, VSIP, 1983. 8. Village and Small Industries Development Program, VSIP, 1983. 9. Tribal Development Agency, TDA, 1983. KISS Smiley Village and Small Industries Development Program, WSIP, 1983. 11. National Seeds Program, NSP, 1983. Intensive Pulses Development Program, IPDP, 1983. 13. Intensive Cotton Development Program, ICDP, 1983. 14. Khadi and Village Industries Program, QUIP, 1983. 15. Program for Depressed Areas, PDA, 1983. 16. Special Program for Women and Children, SPWC, 1983. 7th Plan The Plan, 1985-90, emphasized on rapid food grain production, increased employment creation and productivity in general. The basic tenets of planning, i.e., growth, modernization, self-reliance and social justice remained as the guiding principles. 75 The Jawahar Rojgar Yojana, JRY, was launched in 1989 with the motive to create wage employment for the rural poor. Some of the already existing programs such as the IRDP, CAD, DPAP and the DDP were reoriented. Till date, the government has been evaluating the achievements of all the developmental programs. See the youngest PM of India. Somehow, democracy and development got connected with a major change in the thinking of the political elite which decided to go in for democratic decentralization to promote development. It laid strong foundations for itself as the constitutional amendments the 73rd and 74th were possible by the early 1990s. Though the economy had better growth rates throughout the 1980s, especially in the latter half, yet it was at the cost of bitter fiscal imbalances. By the end of the plan, India had a highly unfavorable balance of payments situation. Heavy foreign loans on which the governmental expenditures depended heavily during the period, the economy failed to service. 76 1 He plan was not laid with a strong financial strategy which put the economy into a crisis of unsustainable balance of payments and fiscal deficits. 77 India basically tried to attend its growth prospects by commercial and other external borrowings on hard terms which the economy failed to sustain. In the process of liberalization, an expansion of internal demand for the home market was permitted without generating equitable levels of exports and ultimately Indian imports were financed by the costly external borrowings. Such an inward-looking fiscal policy proved to be a mistake when the external aid environment for the economy was deteriorating. 78. ARVO annual plans. The 8th plan, whose term would have been 1990-95, could not take off due to the fast-changing political situation at the center. 79 The path-breaking and restructuring-oriented suggestions of the 8th plan, the sweeping economic reforms ensuing around the world as well as the fiscal imbalances of the late 1980s were the other important reasons for the delay in the launch of the 8th plan. The new government, which assumed power at the center in June 1991, decided to commence the 8th plan for the period 1992-97 and that the fiscals 1990-91 and 1991-92 should be treated as two separate annual plans. The two consecutive annual plans, 1990-1992, were formulated within the framework of the approach to the 8th plan, 1990-95, with the basic thrust on maximization of employment and social transformation. 8th plan The 8th plan, 1992-97, was launched in a typically new economic environment. The economic reforms were already started, in July 1991, with the initiation of the structural adjustment and macro stabilization policies necessitated by the worsening balance of payments, higher fiscal deficit and unsustainable rate of inflation. This was the first plan which went on for an introspection of the macroeconomic policies which the country had been pursuing for many decades. The major concerns and path-breaking suggestions 80 which this plan articulated may be summarized as follows. I. An immediate redefinition of the state's role in the economy was suggested. 2. Market-based development advised in the areas which could afford it, i.e., a greater role for the private sector in the economy. 81. 3. More investment in the infrastructure sector, especially in the laggard states as the ongoing emphasis on greater private sector investment could not be attracted towards these states. 4. Rising non-plan expenditure and fiscal deficits need to be checked. 6. Planning immediately needs to be decentralized. 7. Special emphasis on cooperative federalism suggested. 8. Greater focus on agriculture and other rural activities was suggested, for which the plan cited empirical evidences as they encourage the economy to achieve enhanced standard of living for its people and to promote the cause of balanced growth, a shift in the mindset of planning. As the economy moved towards liberalization, criticism came from every quarter against the move. The process of planning was also criticized on the following counts. I. As economy moves towards the market economy, the planning becomes irrelevant. 2. When the state is rolling back, planning makes no sense. 3. The planning process should be restructured, in the era of liberalization, and 4. There should be increased thrust on the social sector, i.e., education, healthcare, etc. Ninth plan underscore. The ninth plan, 1997 to 2002, was launched when there was an all-round slowdown in the economy led by the Southeast Asian financial crisis, 1996 to 97. Though the liberalization process was still criticized, the economy was very much out of the fiscal imbroglio of the early 1990s. With a general nature of indicative planning, the plan not only did target an ambitious high growth rate, 7%, but also tried to direct itself towards time-bound, social objectives. There was an emphasis on the 7 identified basic minimum services, BMS, with additional central assistance for these services with a view to obtaining complete coverage of the population in a time-bound manner. The BMS 82 included I. Safe drinking water. 2. Primary health service. 3. Universalization of primary education. 4. Public housing assistance to the shelterless poor families. Nutritional support to children. 6. Connectivity of all villages and habitations. And 7. Streamlining of the public distribution system. The issue of fiscal consolidation became a top priority for the governments starting from this plan, for the first time, which had its focus on the following 83 related issues. I. Sharp reduction in the revenue deficit of the government, including center, states and the PSUs through a combination of improved revenue collections and control of inessential expenditures. 2. Cutting down subsidies, collection of user charges on economic services, i.e., electricity, transportation, etc., cutting down interest, wages, pension, PF, etc. 3. Decentralization of planning and implementation through greater reliance on states and the Panchayat Raj institutions, PRIS. FENTH plan underscore. The plan, July 2002, commenced with the objectives of greater participation of the NDC in their formulation. Some highly important steps were taken during the plan, which undoubtedly points out a change in the planning policy mindset of the government, major ones being 84. I. Doubling per capita income in 10 years. 2. Accepting that the higher growth rates are not the only objective which should be translated into improving the quality of life of the people. 3. For the first time, the plan went to set the monitorable targets for 11 select indicators of development for the center as well as for the states. 4. Governance was considered a factor of development. States' role in planning to be increased with the greater involvement of the PRLS. 6. Policy and institutional reforms in each sector, i.e., reforms in the PSUs, legal reforms, administrative reforms, labor. 7. Agriculture sector declared as the prime moving force, PMF, of the economy. 8. Increased emphasis on the social sector, i.e., education, health, etc. 9. Relevance between the processes of economic reforms and planning emphasized, etc. The midterm appraisal of the plan was approved by the NDC in June 2005. The assessment gives a mixed picture regarding its performance. As per the appraisal, the country performed well in many areas and these gains needed to be consolidated, but there were some important weaknesses also, which, if not corrected, can undermine even the current performance level. 85. 11th plan. The plan targets a growth rate of 10% and emphasizes the idea of inclusive growth. In the approach paper, the Planning Commission shows its concerns regarding realizing the growth targets on account of the compulsions towards the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. In recent times, some aberrations in the economy have started to increase the government's concerns in meeting the plan target of 10% growth. The major concerns are I. A higher inflation, above 6%, led to the tightening of the credit policy, forcing lower investment in the economy, which will lower the production. 2. A stronger rupee is making export earnings shrink fast. 3. Costlier food grains and other primary articles playing havoc for the poor masses. 4. Costlier oil prices becoming a burden for the national exchequer, etc. Not only the government but the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, as well as the World Bank expressed doubts in the 11th plan realizing the ambitious 10% growth. 11th plan, performance times. The Planning Commission, PC, had attempted the midterm appraisal of the plan, which was considered and approved by the National Development Council in July 2010. The appraisal document reviewed the developments and provided a comprehensive assessment of the performance of the economy during the 11th plan period so far, in different sectors, together with suggested mid-course corrections. It has drawn attention to the problems in some selected areas and identified constraints that would be of relevance for the balance period of the 11th plan and also for the 12th plan. These include inter alia. I. Restoring dynamism in agriculture. 2. Managing India's water resources. 3. Problems in achieving power generation targets. 4. Issues pertaining to urbanization, and special problems of tribal development. In respect of agriculture, the midterm Appraisal notes that though performance of agriculture and the rate of growth in the 11th plan is likely to be better than that in the 10th plan, it may, however, not reach the target of 4% per year. The need to focus on agriculture and other critical issues mentioned above would require concerted action by the center and the states. The review by the PC regarding the poverty estimates is also important when the issue has become a matter of debate in the country. The Planning Commission is the nodal agency for estimating poverty in the country, both at the national level and across the states. The estimates the poverty on the basis of poverty line defined in terms of monthly per capita consumption expenditure. The Commission has been estimating poverty line and poverty ratio since 1997 on the basis of the methodology contained in the report of the Expert Group on Estimation of Number and Proportion of Poor, known as Lakdawala Committee Report. The headcount poverty ratio has been estimated by using the above-mentioned poverty lines from a large-size sample survey of household consumption expenditure carried out by the National Sample Survey Office, NSSO, with an interval of 5 years approximately. The Planning Commission constituted an expert group in December 2005 under the chairmanship of Professor Suresh D. Tendulkar to review the methodology for estimation of poverty. The expert group submitted its report in December 2009. While acknowledging the multidimensional nature of poverty, the expert group recommended moving away from anchoring the poverty lines to the calorie intake norm, adopting the mixed reference period, MRP, based estimates of consumption expenditure as the basis for future poverty lines, adopting MRP equivalent of urban poverty line basket, PLB, corresponding to 25.7% urban headcount ratio as the new reference PLB for rural areas. On the basis of the above methodology, the All India Rural Poverty Headcount Ratio for May 2004 was estimated at 41.8%, Urban Poverty Headcount Ratio at 25.7% and All India level at 37.2%. It may however be mentioned that the Tendulkar Committee's estimates are not strictly comparable to the present official poverty estimates because of different methodologies. As has been indicated in the midterm appraisal of the 11th 5-year plan, the revised poverty lines and poverty ratios for May 2004 as recommended by the Tendulkar Committee have been accepted by the Planning Commission. The Tendulkar Committee has specifically pointed out that the upward revision in the percentage of rural poverty in May 2004, resulting from the application of a new rural poverty line, should not be interpreted as implying that the extent of poverty has increased over time. These estimates, as reported by the committee, clearly show that whether we use the old method or the new, the percentage of the population below poverty line has declined by about the same magnitude. The performance on the fiscal scenario, according to the Planning Commission, the expansionary fiscal measures taken by the government in order to counter the effects of the global slowdown were continued in 2009-10, and this led to further increase in the key deficit indicators. The fiscal deficit of the center, which was 2.5% in 2007-08, increased substantially to 6.0% in September 2008 and further to 6.4% in 2009-10, but it declined to 5.1% in 2010-11, and the budget estimates for 2011-12 put the fiscal deficit at 4.6% of the GDP. Similarly, the revenue deficit of the center increased from 1.1% in August 2007 to 4.5% in September 2008 and further to 5.2% in 2009-10 and declined to 3.4% for 2010-11. As per 2011-12, the revenue deficit is projected at the same level of 3.4% of the GDP. The increase in the deficit levels of the center owes to revenue foregone on account of reduction in indirect tax rates and enhanced public expenditure in order to boost demand in the economy amidst global meltdown. The issue of price stability remained resonating for more than half of the plan period. To ward off the crisis of rising prices, the government needed to announce several tax concessions at one hand, while it could not pass the burden of the costlier imported oil prices on the masses. That would have resulted in ultimately putting the exchequer in a fund crunch mode. At the end, creating a short supply of investable funds in government's hand, hence, causing the 11th plan to perform at the levels below its target. RWELFTH plan ___________. The draft approach paper of the 12th plan, 2012-17, was prepared by the Planning Commission after widest consultation till date, recognizing the fact that citizens are now better informed and also keen to engage. Over 950 civil society organizations across the country provided inputs. Business associations, including those representing small enterprises, have been consulted. Modern electronic and social media, Google Hangout, were used to enable citizens to give suggestions. All state governments, as well as local representative institutions and unions, have been consulted through 5 regional consultations. Though the approach paper for the plan was approved by the NDC by mid-2011, the plan document was finalized much later after the launch of the plan, like the 10th and 11th plans. The draft approach paper lays down the major targets of the plan, the key challenges in meeting them, and the broad approach that must be followed to achieve the stated objectives, which are summed up as follows. I. Growth rate of 9% is targeted for the plan. However, in view of the uncertainties in the global economy and the challenges in the domestic economy, the approach paper indicates that it could be achieved only if some difficult decisions are taken. 2. It emphasizes the need to intensify efforts to have 4% average growth in the agriculture sector during the plan period, with food grains growing at about 2% per year and non-food grains, notably horticulture, livestock, dairying, poultry and fisheries, growing at 5 to 6%. 3. The higher growth in agriculture would not only provide broad-based income benefits to the rural population but also help restrain inflationary pressure, which could arise if high levels of growth are attempted without corresponding growth in domestic food production capabilities. 4. It proposes that the major flagship program .mes, which were instrumental for promoting inclusiveness in the 11th plan, should continue in the 12th plan. There is a need to focus on issues of implementation and governance to improve their effectiveness. The plan indicates that the energy needs of rapid growth will pose a major challenge since these requirements have to be met in an environment where domestic energy prices are constrained and world energy prices are high and likely to rise further. 6. For the GDP to grow at 9%, commercial energy supplies will have to grow at a rate between 6.5 and 7% per year. Since India's domestic energy supplies are limited, dependence upon imports will increase. Import dependence in the case of petroleum has always been high and is projected to be 80% in the 12th plan. 7. Even in the case of coal, import dependence is projected to increase as the growth of thermal generation will require coal supplies, which cannot be fully met from domestic mines. 8. It suggests the need to take steps to reduce energy intensity of production processes, increase domestic energy supply as quickly as possible and ensure rational energy pricing that will help achieve both objectives, viz., reduced energy intensity of production process and enhanced domestic energy supply, even though it may seem difficult to attempt. 9. It draws attention to evolving a holistic water management policy aiming at more efficient conservation of water and also in water use efficiency, particularly in the field of agriculture. It argues that a new legislation for land acquisition is necessary, which strikes an appropriate balance between the need for fair compensation to those whose land is acquired and whose livelihood is disrupted, and the need to ensure that land acquisition does not become an impossible impediment to meeting our needs for infrastructure development, industrial expansion and urbanization. 11. It maintains that health, education and skill development will continue to be the focus areas in the 12th plan and that there is a need to ensure adequate resources to these sectors, universal healthcare, proposed by it, emphatically. Simultaneously, it also points to the need to ensure maximum efficiency in terms of outcomes for the resources allocated to these sectors. The need to harness private investment in these sectors has also been emphasized by the approach. 12. It takes cognizance of the fact that achieving 9% growth will require large investments in infrastructure sector development, notes greater momentum to public investment and public-private partnerships, PPPs, in infrastructure sector needs to be imparted so that present infrastructure shortages can be addressed early. 13. It has emphasized the importance of the process of 6-scale correction. However, the paper cautions that fiscal consolidation would imply that total resources available for the plan in the short run will be limited. Resource limitations imply the need to prioritize carefully and that some priority areas, e.g., health, education and infrastructure will have to be funded more than others. 14. It also emphasizes the need for focusing more on efficient use of available resources in view of the resource constraints. The paper makes several suggestions in this regard, including giving implementing agencies greater amount of freedom, flexibility, promoting convergence between resources from different plan schemes and the need for much greater attention to capacity building, monitoring and accountability. 8. 20-point program. The 20-point program, TPP, is the second central plan which was launched in July 1975. The program was conceived for coordinated and intensive monitoring of a number of schemes implemented by the central and the state governments. The basic objective was of improving the quality of life of the people, especially of those living below the poverty line. Under this, a thrust was given to schemes relating to poverty alleviation, employment generation in rural areas, housing, education, family welfare and health, protection of environment and many other schemes having a bearing on the quality of life in rural areas. The program was restructured in 1982 and 1986. The program, known as the TPP 86, has 119 items grouped into 20 points which are related to the improvement in the quality of life in rural areas. Among the total items, 54 are monitored on the basis of evaluatory criteria, 65 against preset physical targets and rest of the 20 important items on monthly basis. The targets are fixed by the ministries at the center in consultation with the states and the UTs. The allocation for the program is done under the various 5-year plans. The TPP 86 has been restructured and named TPP 2006, keeping in view the challenges of the 21st century with particular reference to the process of economic reforms. This is in harmony with the National Common Minimum Program, NCMP, of the UPA government. Basically, the program was targeted to the cause of poverty alleviation with the direct attack approach. This experiment encouraged the government to go for a whole 5-year plan with the slogan, Garibi Hatao, i.e., the sixth plan, 1980-85. Over the years, the political changes at the center did not affect the program and it has been continuously implemented, more so due to its being of a high populist nature and known to the masses, as the experts believe. C. MP Lads. The Member of Parliament Local Area Development Scheme, MP Lads, is the last of the central plans and latest to have been launched. The scheme was launched on 23 December 1993 with only 5 rupees lakh given to each MPs, which was increased to Rs 1 crore in the year 1994-95. When the MPs did put a demand to increase the sum to 5 rupees crore in 1997-98, finally the government enhanced it to 2 rupees crore since 1998-99. In April 2011 the corpus was enhanced to 5 rupees crore while announcing the new guidelines for the scheme. Basically, in the early 1990s there came a demand from the MPs cutting across the party line for such a scheme so that the fruits of development could directly reach the masses via their representatives. The government of the 5.30 times Indian economy time decided to go in for such a scheme and the MP Lads came. Under this scheme the members of Parliament 86 recommend some works, i.e., creation of fixed community assets, based on locally felt developmental needs, to the concerned district magistrate. The scheme is governed by a set of guidelines, which have been comprehensively revised and issued in November 2005. Its performance has improved due to proactive policy initiatives, focus monitoring and review. 87. In recent years, many criticisms of the scheme came to the public notice, which concern either misappropriation of the funds or non-use of the funds, especially from the backward states. The people's representative at the PRI level have been demanding scrapping of the scheme as it infringes the idea of decentralized planning. In its place, they want the funds to be given to the local bodies directly for the same kind of works specified by the MP Lads. 88. The MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, issued revised guidelines for the scheme in August 2012 with the following salient features. I. Assistance to physically challenged persons up to maximum of rupees 10 lakh per year for purchase of tricycles and artificial limbs have been allowed. 2. Ambulances here's ones under the district authority CMG civil surgeon of the district can now also be operated through private organizations. 3. MPs allowed to recommend eligible works up to rupees IO lakh per year outside the constituency for Lok Sabha MPs and outside states for Rajya Sabha MPs. 4. Advances to government implementing agencies increased to the ratio of 75-25 from 50-50. Contingency funds of 0.5% have been increased to 2% of the annual entitlement as administrative expenses. 6. Works can also be implemented in areas affected by man-made calamities like chemical, biological and radiological hazards. 7. Mobile library for government educational institutions. Public libraries now permissible. 8. Works from out of the shelf of MNREGA. A project approved by the Jilla Panchayat for the year may also be recommended under the MP Lad scheme. Similarly, convergence of MP Lads funds with Panchayat Yuva Krida or Khel Abhiyan, PICA, and Urban Sports Infrastructure Scheme, USIS, for creation of durable sports assets from out of the shelf of PICA projects has been allowed. 9. Funds can be used now for construction of railway halt stations to facilitate the local community for boarding the train. Kiss Smiley and MP has been entitled for setting up of MP Lads Facilitation Center in the nodal district for which MP Lads funds not exceeding 5 rupees lakh being the cost of equipments, furniture, etc., can be used. The space room would be provided by DCDM in the premises of the Collectorate DRDA and the recurring running expenses will be booked under 2% of the administrative charges, of which the nodal district gets 0.8%. 11. MPs may recommend purchase of books up to 22 rupees lakh annually for schools, colleges, public. Besides, an annual competition, One MP, One Idea was also introduced for selecting 3 best innovations in solving local problems to be held in each Lok Sabha constituency.